Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 22 of Podcast of Five Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of video games, tabletop, anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of Five Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and Soundcloud, and now topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Fridays. Catch updates about the podcast or for other news, give us a follow on your social media platform of choice, listed in the description below. I'm your host, GM, and overseer of Podcast of Five Rings, returning after our big, long, 2-week break, Obsidian. Joined by the Dark Fortune duelist, Meta.
We weren't gone 2 weeks, we were gone 1 week.
It's been 2 weeks since we recorded.
Alright, fine, whatever.
We got the resident wildcard, Mao.
Yo, yo, yo.
And the wall that will not fall, Tetsuo. Meow. Meow. We're all here.
Our walls also meow like cats.
Our walls are falling. We're back from the week of Gencon. And
oh my god.
Holy hell.
We are back. Yeah, we all went. We all are back.
We all went, all had a great time. Me, myself, and I.
Mao and Tets just slept the entire time. I don't know what they were doing. No, okay, Meta and I are back from Gen Con, and the week has been hell for me. I don't know about you guys.
It's been hell. I came back and everything was on fire, and I was gone for fucking 4 days, guys.
Yeah, same here, pretty much.
Literal fires, meteorites falling from the sky, volcanoes exploding everywhere.
Cthulhu rising from Malay. It was a travesty.
Yeah.
I was very tired, though, from everything at Gen Con.
For real.
Went through so much.
I was tired the whole week. I normally stay up like really late every night when I'm there, just because, you know, you're walking around the city and doing all kinds of stuff. Just generally walking around the convention center. But I was asleep by like 11 o'clock every night, it felt like.
Honestly, that was the same thing for me. Like, normally I'm used to staying up way later, and then it's like pushing myself out of bed at like 6 to get prepped and everything. But this year, it was like, I didn't have to get up early for pretty much anything, and I went to bed pretty early for stuff too. It was a very weird Gen Con for me.
I will say on Wednesday not, because Thursday is obviously when the tidal waves were unleashed and people went into the dealer hall and got to get their stuff, like L5R. Get your copies of that. But I got like literally 2 hours of sleep the night before because two of my roommates were literally snoring and it sounded like a freaking lawnmower was going off. And so I just pulled out my 3DS and played Pokemon Silver for like 6 hours. Then went, put on my costume, got in line, and then played Pokemon Silver for 4 more hours waiting for the dealer hall to open up at 10 a.m.
Oh my god.
So,
The Elite Four.
No, I did get through a bunch of Kanto, though.
Oh, nice. I was very glad that getting in line for L5R, I was very glad that we were able to get 2 copies per person as opposed to 1.
Yeah, that was a big thing. They first announced that you were only going to be able to get 1 copy. You'd have to go back to the back of the line to get back in line again. Little did they know, the line immediately became like 4 hours long.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to only have to wait like an hour and a half and get my 2 copies at once. So that was pretty nice. And you guys got out before I did.
Yeah, we got in line, and we just stood there for. It was pretty sure we were actually lucky to get in into the spot that we were.
No, you guys were lucky because the FFG people. I was literally at the front, like where they were opening up and letting you in. I was right there at the front of the dealer hall. The FFG employees pointed us around. You had to walk all the way around from the right, around the giant freaking FFG thing, and we got where I started was right before you got put into the roped off section. They were like, everybody go this way, and then a lot of people just ignored them and went right into that section right there that were behind us. So the people who were in the front of the line to get into FFG, which was right there at the entrance to the dealer hall, we got screwed, basically, unless you just ignored them.
Oh, wow. I had no clue. We started off on, because we saw the crowds at the front of it, so we just swung off to a side door and just opted to go that, so we were able to zip through that door. In order to get in.
You lucky bastards.
And yeah, I mean, it was a small walk, but
yeah,
we got right off to the side where the line was supposed to start. So
yeah, it was fun. I had nothing planned on Thursday, and I got my 2 copies. So
yeah, we got 3 copies. We'll see if we can try to make 2 decks out of that. I've already built up the Crane deck. I've splashed Dragon on it, but I've got a Lion set aside, and I'm tempted for Scorpion, but it doesn't
Scorpion's good.
I know it's good, but man, I don't know. Like, you've got Scorpion control, but then there's some good Dragon control in there as well.
Yeah.
Plus, you can just throw a monk onto one of your characters and be like, oh great, now he's got
Covert.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of people think Dragon are the best splash. A lot of people have been splashing Scorpion, though, and we can kind of talk about that later.
Yeah.
So we're going to kind of have 5 topics tonight because we kind of got surprised with some stuff from FFG today, which we'll get to in a second. So L5R stuff. Obviously, at Gen Con, they announced that L5R, the core set, is going to release to... Is it worldwide, I'm guessing? Or was it just North America? I don't know.
I missed that.
I didn't see that. I don't know if they said worldwide or not.
I wasn't there because I couldn't find the Kiku Matsuri parade. But anyways, October 5th is when the game is launching, in quotes. So I believe that's a Thursday. And actually sooner than I thought. I thought it would be mid to late October.
That would be a Thursday. You are correct.
Yeah, so plenty of time for you to, if you care about going to Worlds, which I'm not going to because that's another vacation that's way too close to the one I just took. And it's all the way in Minneapolis.
Is it?
Yeah, it's where they're headquartered at. So, not as long for you, obviously, but if I'd gotten a tournament and played well, I would have probably found a way to go, but I did not.
I'm tempted, but I kind of want to see if they're gonna keep to the one core set rules. If they're gonna,
it's gonna be 3 at the Worlds.
Okay. Then I might, depending on how I like the game, because I haven't actually got a chance to play it yet. But once I do, and I start to play 3 core sets, because I'm gonna do right in that. I'm not gonna bother with 1 core.
Yeah.
It will depend. We'll see.
Yep. Also, Crane won Gen Con, the 2-day tournament, beating Scorpion in the finals. So go Power Blue.
Was it?
Did they really beat Scorpion if they splashed it though?
That's a good point.
That's to make a fair argument.
And to be fair, in that match, the Scorpion player saw 1 Scorpion personality in the game. So yeah, that's pretty much why he lost the game.
Though the Crane got Hotaru in both games and carried him to victory.
Hotaru. Turn 1 Hotaru is really tough to deal with if you don't have an answer for her.
Yeah.
He had all the ways to honor her and negate the dishonoring on her or get it neutralized and stuff. So, I mean, that was pretty much the game at that point.
Yep.
But
it's hard.
Anyways, we're not going to break down a match that's already taken place 5 days ago. We're going to talk about the Tears of Amaterasu Dynasty Pack, where they...
Well, I guess you can also mention that this first storyline prize happened.
Oh, yeah, that happened.
Nobody wants to know about that. What are you talking about?
Long story short, the unicorn didn't get their magic taken away, but now Shaha has to teach it to the Imperial families, the secrets of it, which is interesting.
I think it was just the Sepun she had to teach it to, not all of them.
Yeah, the Hidden Guard, I think.
The Hidden Guard.
The Hidden Guard, specifically,
Yeah.
So...
Unfortunately, none of the unicorn made... what was it, Hamataru? Or what was it called?
Hanamoto.
Hanamoto.
Yeah, no unicorn Hanamoto, because apparently they're really hard to be effective with out of 1 core set.
I would not be surprising.
Yeah, I think one went 4-1, but I just narrowly missed it. So, interesting that Shaha is going to be teaching them, considering in the old storyline she was the wife of Daigotsu and a horrible Mahosuka.
Huh.
Yeah. So this might affirm the Phoenix's fears in a way. I think this was planned all along.
She was going to corrupt the Sepun into the new spider.
What?
Or the equivalent.
Yeah, whatever that is.
Yeah.
It'd probably fracture, knowing the Imperial family.
Anyways, let's get on to the Tears of Amaterasu. This is going to be the first Dynasty Pack, which is the expansion pack for the game. I'm surprised.
Comes out the first month after, I believe.
I think so. And I think they had said what the name was, but I'm surprised that we get to see cards for it so soon.
Yeah,
So-
that was really quick.
Yeah.
So we're
Oh,
gonna,
it just says fourth quarter, so we don't know if it's exactly the next.
I bet it'll be after Worlds, probably. Maybe late
Yeah.
November.
Some people said that it was like there was like 3 months in between the first release and the core set with some of the others, but they
Yeah.
also didn't like that, so maybe it'll only be a month or two.
I think if they've already got previews of the cards up, though, that kind of tells me that they've already at least figured out all the cards that they need to really figure out.
Oh yeah, I'm sure this has already
Yeah.
been printed.
They were
Yeah,
calling.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, they were calling the first part
I just don't know
Imperial.
when they'll release it.
Imperial something, Imperial set, or I don't want to say block because there's a magic, obviously, but so we're going to talk some cards here. I think each clan got to see a card. We got to see part of the Goblin card, which got a lot of Shadowlands players excited.
Yeah,
Yeah.
It's a neutral for now, so keep your
It's-
pants.
it's only one military and 0 political or a dash political for 2.
It's probably
fates.
covert.
Its
It's probably
ability
covert
probably-
or something.
Are you trying
Yeah.
to tell me that my goblin cannot go into a political fight?
That is correct.
I would hope not. Good God.
I mean,
I imagine if Oni get political stuff, it'll be like Peckles and stuff like that.
Yeah,
And like
probably.
shapeshifters.
Yeah.
But
They're gonna-
bog hags.
Some of the Oni are gonna have to have political because otherwise they would just
You just
get
can't play the game.
crushed.
Or you
Yeah.
just play
Yeah, if
Unicorn
they
and run
become a
those cards.
faction. Yeah, if they become a
If
faction,
they
they'll
become a
have to.
faction, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm assuming that they might become a faction. I mean, probably know what they can be.
They're
splashing.
probably going.
I mean, I guess there are still. I mean, there could still be the Lost type samurai. I don't know.
The Aken Tenchi or whatever.
We don't fully know because remember, I mean, the world is kind of reset. It's almost like an alternate timeline, so it could be something totally different.
Yeah, well, I don't even know what's around at this time period.
Well, I'm
Although I
saying
think-
I'm saying that not to you, just like to anyone in general.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk cards.
Yeah,
First, we got Smoke and Mirrors, which is the Scorpion card we got to see. It is a 1 fate cost event technique. Action during a conflict, choose any number of attacking shinobi characters you control. Move each chosen character home. It is 2 influence.
Where'd they all go?
Yeah, exactly.
that
So
is actually a really nice card.
yeah, it's pretty nice, as I put in my notes. Yeah, this is a kind of classic Scorpion ninja thing from the old game because they got to do lots of movement tricks and stuff. So it's a really good way for if you overextend, maybe to send some of your guys home and then get more value out of them because well, I only need this guy to take the province. He didn't defend there. So I'll Smoke and Mirrors like 2 of my shinobi back home or 1 of them back home. And then I can
Yeah.
use them in another battle. Or if you like I said, if your opponent doesn't defend, or maybe sometimes you're just going to lose the conflict and you don't want your guys to bow during battle resolution, so you can send them home if you know you're going to
Yeah.
lose. And only have like 1 of your guys bow, so you don't lose the honor.
It's got some uses.
Yeah,
I would,
Weird that it's like 2 influence, but only works for shinobi, which I don't think we've seen a whole lot.
seen like
outside
2,
of-
I think.
there's not a
Well,
lot
outside of
shinobi.
Scorpion, even like
Yeah, there's not going to be
none.
any.
If it's not in Scorpion, there's no Shinobi. I've gone through all the cards.
Yeah, probably something to come though. I'm sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm sure there will be a shinobi theme down the road.
I would
Once
say
we get
just-
more cards.
I would say, like, if you're just being fighting a crane, just obviously be careful because if you have Voice of Honor, they can cancel that out, and a tactic that you thought you might have been able to save some units on can horribly backfire, especially if you purposely overextended to get them to retaliate in kind.
Yep.
Of course, you could always use that card to make them waste that card and then play a different event.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's true too.
It's a nice bait.
I mean, it's mind games, but I mean, just like
Yeah.
it's just a word of warning. Don't become predictable with it.
Next, we got Karada District, which is the Clab card. Go figure, it's a
The
holding.
Clab card.
The Clab card. Oh my gosh. The Crab card.
Yes.
Karada District is Imperial, is +1 province strength, and there's a limit of 1 per deck. Action. Give an opponent 1 fate. Choose an attachment on a character that player controls. Take control of that attachment. Attach it to an eligible character you control if able. Otherwise, discard it.
I will
This
take
is-
that Dragon Monk.
This is,
Yep.
this is Forged Edict for Scorpion, but instead of dishonoring yourself, one of your characters, it's just give a paint.
Yeah. Or let go, but give them a fate. But better
Yeah.
than let go.
I would actually say it's better than Forged Edict in a way. depending on how you want to take it. But because this can be continuously used, whereas Forge Addict is a fate card, and once it's done, it's done.
Yeah.
It's an event card, so.
It's also, I think it's the first limit 1 per deck card we've seen, too.
It is.
Yeah.
It is
Which is like old unique for L5R, where you can only include 1 in your deck. So I think that makes it a little less weak, because you're not going to see it every game. You're not going to be able to consistently rely upon it, but still, it's really good. It's just a good ability, and it makes sense that it's only 1 per deck. You can just steal all your opponent's attachments, and they're probably just going to lose the game.
It's a pretty nasty thing, but I'm also kind of worried just based on like, giving 1 fate, because technically some attachments are pretty cheap to put back on, and the like. So, plus, I mean, economy.
The dragon has the recurring attachment to Ancestral Dasho.
Yeah.
Which if you discard or it gets on your guy and then discards, it just goes back to your opponent's hand anyway.
Yeah.
So.
I've read that this is a district in Otosan Uchi.
Is
Whatever
it?
that's worth. Yeah.
Oh yeah, it is.
One of the 16 districts.
Oh, very cool.
I guess we'll possibly see more. That's why it's got the Imperial tag at the top.
That Atlas of Rokugan.
Yeah, man.
Next we got Kitsuki Yaruma. He is a 4 fate cost character out of Dragon. 2/4 courtier with 2 glory. Courtesy, no poison attachments. Reaction, after this character enters play, choose an unbroken province, turn that province face down. So courtesy is nice. No poison is very flavorful. I like that because he's a Kitsuki and he knows to look out for stuff like that.
Right.
Yeah, it's actually pretty nice.
And I kind of like the way he plays into the dragon theme of like, I mean, it's not really a theme, but they just kind of like having cards like Miramoto's Fury is more powerful, like the article said, when you have more face down provinces. But it's also just good to flip your opponent's dynasty cards and deny that person your opponent one of their key personalities for that term. So if you see like a clan champion on the other side, you're going to buy this guy first and flip that clan champion back face over so you can't get him.
Wait, wouldn't it be a card in the province or turn the province?
Oh, yeah, it's the province itself.
That's the province itself.
I just read the card wrong, man.
Oh, I was thinking about that. I was like, man, that'd be way powerful.
That's like super. Yeah, that's okay. So not as good as I thought, then. Actually, it is good to, but you can still hit your opponent's like recurring stuff.
Yeah.
That you can get rid of. So that's fine, and it syncs with your stuff.
And it makes Miramoto's Fury itself even better. So.
Yeah, and he's courtesy, so you'll get the fate back on him when he leaves play.
Yep. And even better, he has 2 glory. So if you can honor him, he will become a 4/6.
Freaking dragon stats are stupid.
Stupidly awesome.
He's just like a really good stat block too.
He is. He's a fantastic.
And a decent ability.
Man.
You saw Kaede is next. This is my favorite card. This card's super good. All right, she is a 5 fate cost, 3/4 Shugenja Void with 3 glory. Phoenix Clan, obviously. Immune to opponent's ring effects. So holy moly, right there. While this character is attacking, the contested ring gains the Void element. This character wins the conflict as an attacker. Instead of choosing an element to resolve each of that ring's effects.
That is so bloody potent and scary. Oh my god.
Double voiding.
Holy shit. Double void, you say? I'm gonna take 2 fate from this guy?
Yeah, and you still get the other ring effect too. So you can still use fire to honor one of your persons or dishonor one of theirs.
If you honor her, she hits like a truck.
Yeah, and
she becomes a 6/7.
And she becomes really hard to dishonor because the most reliable way to dishonor your opponent is to use the fire ring against them, unless you're like Scorpion. So she's just when she becomes honored, she becomes really, really hard to deal with. And Void is just a really good element. I think probably out of the games I saw, because I watched a bit of the stream, I wasn't able to be in the play hall very much. The Void and Fire were some high priority rings. Void, Fire, and Water seemed like the really high priority ones. So, and not being able to be bowed, have a Void or have a Fate taken off her, or become dishonored is just strong on its own. And then you get this ability on the top.
She's just a really scary card.
Yeah. The only problem is she's expensive. So I don't know if you can justify running her and Sukune. You might have to choose between one of the two.
She was the person who brought the unicorn stuff to the.
Yep, she is the Master of Void.
Mm.
And in the
Or
old
no,
game, she was.
Ujina's still the Master of Void, but she's the daughter of Ujina. She eventually became
Yeah,
the
she's-
Master of Void in the old game, and the Oracle.
Yeah, and the first Totori Empress.
Yep. So
Oh wow.
we did find out in the story that she is still engaged to Totori. So maybe
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm sure that it has to be like if someone else can become an emperor that Totori might not happen. But anyways, that's speculation. That's another topic. Let's get on to Swift Magistrate, who's a 3 fate cost character, a 2/2 Bushi Imperial Magistrate with 1 glory.
She's clearly riding a horse. Where's the cavalry?
She's just prancing through the streets. She's an Imperial.
She can do whatever the hell she wants.
While this character is attacking, each other character that has 1 or more fate on it does not count its skill toward the resolution of this conflict. So a card that makes your opponent have to play kind of the way you want them to. Most of the time, they're probably going to mix up a person with a fate and a person without, or just say, well, I'm just not going to put any fate on any of my characters, I guess, and just try to flip the board. So it's a way for you to basically kind of control the board state just with her presence on the board, because your characters are useless if they're not contributing skill to the conflicts they're in.
Yeah. I don't know how I feel about that one.
She is symmetrical,
Yes.
so it's both sides.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
I think she's a really good defender.
Yeah.
She can be a really good attacker too if the right situation presents
Well,
itself.
she's gonna be a better attacker than she will be a defender just because of the nature of her ability. But I mean, just
Oh yeah, you only get it when she's attacking.
Yep.
I
Read the cards.
apparently can't read this week.
I mean, you did read it out loud, but
Yeah. Okay, my brain can't comprehend what I'm reading. How about that? Yeah,
But,
so much better attacker.
Much better attacker, but even as a defender, she's bad. And if you honor her, she'll be baseline with her cost. So
Yeah.
I wouldn't probably burn an honor on
Yeah.
her though. I would probably choose
Nah.
somebody else.
Well,
Yeah,
I mean,
three-
I don't know.
3 for
Unicorn.
2/2 isn't bad. It's not great, but it's not bad.
I don't know, I'm just always thinking honor.
You would.
Zuko.
All right, we got Disdainful Remark. It is a 1 fate cost event. It's a keeper roll only, so you have to be playing with one of the keeper cards. Action. During a conflict, if you control a participating courtier character until the end of the conflict, the attack province gets +X strength. X is equal to the number of cards in your opponent's hand. This is a 1 influence, so you can play it out of other decks if you care to play Crane.
I like this. I like this card for just the one reason that apparently during the tournaments at Gen Con, drawing, like having card control, like hand size control, was apparently a very big thing.
Yeah, lots of people were betting 5 on their first turns.
Yeah, people were just going like full on.
Oh, yeah.
Into the trenches.
Yeah,
with,
and then
Probably more than they should have been.
yeah.
Yeah, and then they'd play conservative afterwards just to try
That's why
to see the
the,
cards they wanted.
Well, that's why the guy who came in second, right? The Scorpion?
Yeah,
Yeah.
he was
Didn't
playing
he dishonor everyone?
Yes.
He
He
went
won
through
the
and
game?
dishonored because I think the general strategy for dishonor was just like bet 1, have them give you 4 honor, and then just keep economy control for the rest of the game.
Pretty much. So this is a really nice way to early defend against that kind of playstyle because, oh, I have like 8 cards in my hand now. Well, guess what? My Providence Strength is now 10. You're going to attack with everything if you want to try to take it. I mean, you're obviously going to play this in the battle, so they're probably going to attack with like 1 or 2 characters. But
Yeah.
this is just like a, okay, well that happened kind of card.
I would just wait till I have less units, like just in an ideal situation. I would just wait till I have less units. They like commit a large number, and then just be like, okay, bam, here it is.
It's really good at your last province too, just
Yeah.
to keep it from breaking.
Yep.
It's a way to just help you stay in the game.
I kind of wonder is like, did they state if this, because this is a keeper roll only, but did they have a seeker roll prepped for this card, or was it just they were waiting till they knew if it was seeker or keeper for?
I think they just knew ahead of time that that one was going to be a keeper roll, and that the line was going to be seeker.
I think it'd be really funny if like the people who chose decided to like just switch that on them purposely.
Well, they'll get the Switch again at Worlds. So
Yeah.
maybe if these cards are really good for the environment in the upcoming environment, they'll try to go after these. So
Hopefully.
Yeah, it does make the people who made the choices, like, it's interesting. They this Phoenix got Seeker of Void, which is pretty good.
yeah.
But they're not going to be able to choose it again in a few months.
Mm-hmm.
We lost really quickly.
All right, we'll get on to the line card, which is a 0 cost event. Time for War. Seeker roll only. Reaction after you lose a political conflict. Choose a Bushi character you control. Put a weapon attachment with printing cost 3 or lower into play from your hand or conflict discard pile attached to that character. So
I
It's
love
currently
this card.
unusable in tournaments for line base.
4 line, yes.
Yeah.
Who care the most about this because they have the most Bushi.
I actually love this card. The very fact, like the icing on the cake is that you can take it from your discard pile as well. So your lion are essentially always going to have a chance, like not always, but will have a far greater chance of always having a weapon attached.
Yeah, Lion have this weird minor theme of when you lose battles, you get some value back, which is nice, but
Yeah, and I'm looking forward to more Kitsune, or not Kitsune,
Kitsu, yeah.
Yeah, just give me all the. Let me use my discard pile for everything.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mal loves that discard pile interaction, so it just sucks for Lion. I mean, they're not going to be able to use these cards anyways before Worlds, but
Yeah.
I just wonder after Worlds if they do well, if they're going to go for a Seeker, or if they'll get kind of shut off again. Because I think they're Keeper of Earth, and Earth is kind of so
I'm
Is
surprised
this not coming out by? Is this? You don't think this will come out before Worlds?
I don't think so. Because I
It's
think it's monthly, so the game's coming out in October, and Worlds is pretty early on. If it does come out before Worlds, I don't think it'd be legal. They don't usually introduce like new stuff without giving people a few weeks at least to play
When is
test
Worlds?
it. November.
Yeah.
It's somewhere in the teens in November, I believe.
Yeah, it could, but I only question it is because this comes with 2 neutral Seeker and Keeper cards, which would make another. Maybe. I bet it. I want them. It must mean then like the Time for War is a Seeker roll only. Then probably that, right?
Probably.
Not like Keeper or Seeker of blank.
Oh, no. So you have to have the Seeker roll to put the card in your deck, basically. Or the Keeper roll in the case of the other one.
Right. I misread that line earlier.
So, and I don't know if other clans are going to want to splash this, just because they don't have as many Bushi as the line. You have to have the Bushi to get value out of it. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I haven't looked at the distribution.
That is the one thing I noticed is like it really feels like it's really hard to make the most out of some of the other clans. For certain clans is splashing. Which is kind of sad in a way because it'd be really cool to see something like this, like really interesting synergy between, like say Phoenix and Lion or Crab Crane. It'd be really cool to see like greater synergy with them. But I mean, I guess the last one isn't solely true because there's some really potent cards for the Crab that work with Crane.
Yep.
But just the idea is like taking these clans that you really generally wouldn't think to mingle them together would be really cool to see. But there's a lot of cards that do focus on like either having Bushi or Monk or certain keywords. So
I mean, you can only get so much out of like a core set.
Yeah.
I mean, like by the time we see Yatsuki, you know, I'm sure like in the Crab you'll see more the Crane splashing and whatnot.
I'm sure we will. I mean, it's just right now. It's kind of sad not to see more of it.
All right.
Phrase everything with right now.
That's pretty much all the L5R stuff we got. So we weren't even going to really talk about it, but we got this article out today. So
yeah, I wonder if they're gonna keep this is a one-time thing and they're going back to Wednesdays, or if L5R is now Thursdays.
Or if it'll skip weeks or something.
Yeah.
I don't know. We still don't know when fictions are going to come out.
Right.
It's going to be a reliable, like, weekly or bi-weekly thing. So, all right, let's get into the topics. Meta, you're starting us off. What is your topic?
I think I'm going to talk about all the swanky games that I played while at Gen Con. So my fiance, bless her in every way, goes through before we go to Gen Con, and she actually makes a list of all these games that look interesting. We'll go back and forth, and she'll link them to me. and I'll check them out, read them out, and then we'll say like we both think they're interesting. We'll put it, and she'll print it out, and she'll put it in this binder, and it's either a game that we'll look for or try to demo, depending on what it costs and whatnot. So for the majority of like 2 of our days, we just go through the exhibition hall, trying out games that we could find and whatnot. And I had the luck to run through, I would say, about 13 games around there, demoing and the like that we either bought or didn't buy.
That's a lot of games.
Yeah, it's a fair amount. So, but I wanted to go through them really quickly because I felt they all should get a shout out at the very least, since we did play through them because they looked interesting. And I want to start off with a game called Seikatsu. It's an interesting game, to say the least.
Is it Japanese?
It is, yeah, it's based on Japanese. It's kind of based on creating,
or whatever.
yeah, it's Japanese themed.
No, it's French.
Yeah, it's French. It's Norwegian. The game is essentially based around the fact that you're trying to create a garden, and you're trying to make the garden as pleasant as possible, but from your point of view. Now, the game is generally played with 3 players, which kind of form a triangle around this garden, and you set down these markers that have flowers and birds on them. And the base of the game is to try to match up birds in the first phase, and then once the garden is done, you add up how many flowers from your perspective are in a column to get points as well, and those give you more points, and you try to create the best looking garden from your perspective.
So it's Crane Clan, the board game.
Pretty much, yeah. I would say it's Crane Clan the board game. Actually, in fairness, the crab love rock gardens, so
Yeah.
so there you go.
They like looking at them. They just don't want to deal with making them.
Oh, they make them. They
It kind of reminds me of Takenoko. But
I've never played it. I couldn't say.
The front of the
You
box
have to-
definitely looks like it to me.
you have to build up bamboo in the Imperial Garden, but it's got a panda that goes around and tries to eat the bamboo.
That's an asshole of a panda.
Yeah, it's kind of it's cute.
It's the Emperor's panda.
He's still an asshole. But he's an
Just don't say it
honorable
to his
asshole.
face.
Yeah,
Right,
exactly.
you can't tell the Emperor that.
just don't let him hear that.
Panda's a total jerk, Emperor.
It's
a
interesting that it's... Oh, wait.
What?
Sorry, you said 3 players?
It could be 1 to 4, but
Oh, okay.
it's kind of designed around the ideas that you play 3.
Yeah, I was going to say, that's a weird playing number.
It is.
But it's kind of nice.
Yeah.
It is. It's a very simple game. It's not complex by any means. The game will probably take you, I would say, truth be told, they put down their playing time is like 15 to 30 minutes. I would say that's actually pretty much on the ball. Not very complicated. We didn't end up getting it. It just wasn't. It didn't meet. Truth be told, it's not because the game was bad or it cost too much. It's actually pretty low even on price. I don't remember what the price range was, but I don't think it went higher than 40. I think it's actually probably exorbitantly high for the game. But it just our own game group is generally 5 to 6 people, so unfortunately it wouldn't really see much love in there. But it was still a very quick game. If you're looking for something that's kind of shorter and simple, this is definitely
The physical pieces look real nice too, like the tokens or whatnot.
The tokens are actually solid. They're not cardboard or anything. They're like plastic, so you are. It's not like you're holding just kind of cheap items. They actually did pretty nice with those. So give them props. It was really nice. It actually looks very beautiful too. If you look at the image, you can look it up on Board Game Geek, which is pretty much where you can look at all these games we want to talk about. So the next one is, and I'm going to say this later, is Radiant Offline Battle Arena, but we'll talk about that one later.
Yep.
After that, we tried a game called Menu Masters. This was actually not one we had looked up at all. We just happened to be at the booth, and my fiance loves herself some pins, and they told her that every game that she played, she could get a pin for. And I was like, I see this is my life now.
Did you just grind out pins?
No, we did not.
Oh.
We did not sing on our He told us, like, we're not grinding pins. This is not an MMO.
So it's like Overcooked board game.
It is. It's pretty much Overcooked the board game. You have it's a pretty simple game. You have your chef. There's nothing really different between the chefs themselves, but they do have like their own bio, and they have generally themes. You have Hispanic food, you have Oriental food, you have European cuisine. Generally, with more towards one direction, like Hispanic, but mostly like Mexican, Asian, but mostly Japanese, European, but mostly French, so on and so forth. But the characters themselves don't really do anything. Basis of the game is that you are attempting to meet the most orders, and sell the most food, and become the best restaurant in the area. And to do this is broken down in different phases. You have your first phase where you essentially you can assign people either to you have guys who work for you, and you have a certain amount of money you start with, and you can either send them to go to the store, you can send them to the bank to collect a little bit of money from you for you, or you can for the day take ownership of that store. So when people buy something from the store, they, instead of paying the bank, it goes to you. But you can't buy from the store that you own, because that's called price fixing and it's very illegal. So but you can do that, and the game changes depending on how many players you have, which is anywhere from 2 to 5 players, and how many stores you have. But each store is its own specific store. You have a vegetable store, a meat store, and a dessert store. And then if you play 4 players or more, you have a general store which covers each one of those. So it has 1 vegetable, 1 meat, 1 dessert. You're trying to create whatever is on the menu that you have, which you'll get. You'll get 2 cards that are like your family recipe cards. These are always there. You just make them, and they're just always there. So they're always a viable option to make. And then you have other meals that people want you to make or that you need to cook up, and those will get drawn to you at the beginning of the round. So the idea is to kind of balance things around. The trick is that anytime somebody goes to a store, they go into a line. The problem is that the bigger the line is, the person at the front will get first dibs, but for every person that's in line behind them, they have to pay that many coins to buy their ingredient. So being last in line means you might not get your ingredient, but you'll make the person pay like 3 coins instead of 1 for the item that they want. So we didn't pick up the game. It's very simple. The game will probably take a little bit of time. They say like 20 to 40 minutes, but I would probably say it might take you an hour.
At least like at the start.
Yeah, at least to start. Once you get the game down, you could probably meet the 24 marker. But as your first playthrough, it's probably going to take you an hour. We didn't pick it up though, but we did think it was interesting. But it just wasn't enough for us to pick up. But it was still a fun game. After that, we went and happened to just come across this game again. It's not one of the ones we had on the list. It was called Cultist and Cthulhu.
What's even the point of this finder?
Well, every other game that I have over here will be on the list. It's just these 2 games were not on the list.
Okay.
This looks like one of those bad, like, meme cartoon pictures.
I know it is. The game is really simple, super simple. It's pretty much just taking. It's kind of like it's just a very simplistic look on the game. It's very silly in regards to it, but essentially, the whole objective of the game is that you're given a ritual card. You're trying to meet the card. You get cultists and whatnot. That allows you to roll. If you meet a certain roll, you put success on it. If you get like a 3, you don't have nothing happens. And if you get 3 2s or 1s together, your cultist goes insane and you lose him. It's a very simple game. There's not honestly a lot to talk about. You'd be better off just looking up the game. But it's a very fun game. It's very quick and easy. You could teach this even to your kids, and it's very family friendly. So it was a lot of fun. We actually picked it up, and we just want to play a game really fast without investing tons of time into it.
So you can have up to 8 players.
Yeah, you can have 8 players.
That's pretty good.
I mean, you can probably play with. I mean, you can see just from the picture itself, like Evil Awakens and whatnot. He's got like a cup of coffees and his slippers with a newspaper in the morning. It's very satirical in its own sense. The game says 20 to 35 minutes, and I would say that if your first game, that's probably spot on, but games after that are just going to be way quicker. This is a very fast game. It will not last all that long once you really know everything about it. So we actually did pick this one up. We thought it was worth the price range. I think it was only like $20. So after that comes a game called Kaiju Crush. This was a very interesting game. Our buddy brought it to our attention. You play as obviously a giant monster. There are 4 giant monsters in there.
Also known as a kaiju.
Yes. We've talked about that like multiple times throughout our podcast. So. The game is 2 to 4 players. The objective is to blow up as much of the city as you can. The generals, you can get into fights with other kaiju.
Do general kaiju things.
Just general kaiju things. Honestly, it is kaiju the game. Your objective is to blow up as much of the building as you can, fight other kaiju. Your kaiju do have special abilities. 2 of them, there's like if you can look it up and whatnot, but there's generally like a kind of a rock paper scissors thing going on, and it gets a little bit more complicated than that because there's technically a rock paper scissors inside of a rock paper scissors. It's a little weird. But it is generally fun. The games are generally pretty quick. The general objective is that it will kind of change depending on cards, because there's special cards that are laid out as you play the game that kind of give you bonus points at the end of the day, or defined. You might be like, for instance, there might be a card called Hoarder, which gives you points if you have the most of that type of building type you destroy, which there is economy, transportation, power, and there's like one other one. But there's 4 different types of buildings that you can destroy that add to a certain category. But then there might be a game where instead of Hoarder, where you want the most of that type to get extra points, it's like you want the least. You want to be the most diverse. You want to have the least of those type of cards. So every game will change up a little bit on how the points are earned and how you want to play your character. But you're still generally playing the ideas that I want to blow up the buildings, I want to fight the other kaijus, and I want to have a great time doing it. So we actually ended up picking this one up. It wasn't all that costly. I think we picked it up for 30 or 35. There is replayability on the game. It says around 45 minutes playing time. I would actually say for even our first game, just demoing and learning the game, that's actually precisely on the dot. So you will only get faster as you play the game more and more and more. So yeah,
It looks cool.
I like the art for it.
Yeah.
The art's really cool for it. Again, it was really fun. We were actually decently surprised. So much so that even though it's only max of 4 players, we still picked it up all the same.
No, next game has best art.
Yeah, Unicornus Knights. I know exactly where this came from. Japan. I mean, the name alone gives it away. But if the designer's name, Seiji Kanai.
All you gotta do is look at the box. Dude.
Yeah. It's something.
It's something.
It looks like freaking Cordelia is on the front of the box. So that's all I have to say.
Oh, that's why it looks like a trash can.
Wow. I will say that.
Wow, Mal. Shots fired.
Yeah, if you like Fire Emblem, the art actually kind of reminds me of that a bit. So you might.
Yeah, it's very Fire Emblem.
Yeah, it's very Fire Emblem. The game, however, despite its name and despite its cover, is actually very fun. To try to keep it very short, you're essentially an emperor kind of came in and kicked out the princess of our kingdom, took it over, converted everything over, and the princess didn't take to it so well. So she decided to go YOLO, picked up a spear, picked up a sword, got on her unicorn, and is going to make a beeline for the emperor, regardless of the consequences that happen. So the game kind of goes into where you play her allies, her advisors in some way. You can either play like the old loyal knight, her general of her army, etc., etc. And you're kind of trying to take down all the bad guys, which are very varied. It's very, if you've played like any Japanese fighting game, you have all your tropes. You have like robotic girl, you have a necromancer, vampire, dragon dude. You have magical enemy, upper class noble villain. It's like it just hits genres all over the place.
It's like the Sacred Blacksmith
complete
lineup.
It's all over the place with the characters. But so you essentially want to create, like, you want to recruit knights to aid you because they'll give you bonus health as well as they'll take hits for you. You want to try to get resources because that's what's going to allow you to move across land, because you are for every knight that you have in your army, you have to pay an extra resource when moving with them because they have mouths to feed. So you kind of have to learn to balance, like, when I kind of want to let them take the hit and move over here, then recruit up really fast, and then try to get some resources now that I've got an army to merge with me. The biggest draw of the game, however, is the fate card system in it. Whenever, as far as I understand, I haven't actually had a chance to fully play through the game. It was getting through a demo. We did end up picking it up because we were actually very impressed with it. Whenever you end a conflict with a villain against your character, or they end their turn next to you or next to the princess, they draw a fate card, and that fate card can do anything, and I mean literally anything. They could have the villain immediately fall in love with the princess or your character and join your side, immediately switch to your side and decide that, hey, I'm going to fight with you now. which happened to us in our demo game. I was playing the old Loyal Knight. I went to fight the Necromancer and flipped over a fate card. She immediately fell in with my old knight, fell in love with him, and I had her just bouncing around with me for the rest of the game. It was fantastic. It was one of the most hilarious things that happened. But it means that essentially anytime you encounter an enemy or the like, what might happen with them, your relationship with them, can change. And it does affect you, both in die rolls and mechanics, but in the abilities that you might get from them.
Does it have a tsundere card?
I do not know, but I will
Better.
let you know. I will find out when I actually play this game for
I actually wanted to betray my comrades and join you. Baka.
There's even a villain in the game that forces you to defeat him before you defeat the Emperor, which is not easy because, again, you have to remember that the princess takes her own turns, and she just makes a beeline, regardless of what's in front of her that could even kill her. She's making a beeline for the Emperor, and the Emperor is not a pushover. This dude looks like Zeus. This dude hits the gym every day, never skips leg day. This guy is beefy. So it was actually a lot of fun. We enjoyed the crap out of it. We had some really good laughs at kind of the silliness of this princess. There was points where we actually had to body block her to force her to take less direct and harder routes, just to slow her down so she wouldn't kill herself. It was actually kind of funny. I would say though that 60 to 90 minutes is probably 90 minutes is probably going to be your first gameplay time for their first match of it. Probably longer, just depending on how many people we have. We had 3 people and it took us 90 minutes, so 4 people probably going to only increase that. But as time goes on, things will get quicker. I would actually say it's not super complex of a game. As simple as as much as there's going on, not that complex. It's pick up your resources, move your men, roll some die. Is it win? Is it lose? Done. And that's it. You can play 2 to 6 players on the game. There is some variation in how your princess plays. She actually has 4 different variant cards, which change how she plays as well. So there is a lot of variety in this game. You are going to get
replay value.
Yeah, there's a lot of replay value. So this is a game you can pick up, and you will play more times because each time you play it, things will be different. Not only the villains that you face, but the board layout as well as the princess that you might be escorting this time. So that was that. We ended up picking up. We thought it was great. Next game was Planetarium. I wanted to start off and to say this. The artwork for this game is phenomenal. It's beautiful. I don't know who the artist is. On Board Game Geek, they actually say it's Dan May and Greg May, so I guess I do know now. But
oh wow, yeah.
It is gorgeous, beautiful artwork.
Yeah.
That's really what caught our eye on this game. Just the artwork and the design for it. It is phenomenal. If nothing else, I would get posters of this game's artwork and put it up. It's just that good to me.
A lot of planetary shots.
Yeah, there's tons of that shots because that's what the game is actually about. It is about planets. You're essentially in a solar system, and there are tokens that represent either air or just air-based items, actual physical solid landmass, iron. There's different materials that are set around the solar system, and you've got 4 planets, 2 which are gaseous and 2 which are not. They're I guess solid. The rocky terrain ones. And essentially everybody takes turns, and the objective in this game is really to force the evolution of these planets, to design them in a way that best suits the cards that you have for their evolution. You're not so much trying to terraform them, you're simply just creating a planet that best works with whatever it is that you have.
Yeah, I'm looking at a line. It's like sulfur dioxide, dioxide vents.
Yep.
Then giant impact, and then hot Jupiter, and it's like low evolution, high evolution, final evolution.
Yeah, there's different cards. They're all really cool. I'll be honest. It's really cool stuff. And then depending on how you build the planet will either decide if it can sustain life or not, which will mix into your final evolution of cards because. If it can sustain life, that's sometimes a criteria on high evolution or final evolution cards, which are worth far more points. There's also work cards where it cannot sustain life. It has to be a non-sustaining life card to actually get those done as well. So it is a pretty quick game. 45 minutes, 1 to 4 players. I would actually say that's pretty much spot on. Our demo was cut short. They actually cut it down a little bit. So for the first game, I might go longer, but it's not a complex game. It is very fun. Yeah, that's about all I got to say on that. So next game up is Element, which I want to start off saying is that if you've ever played Go, this game is a lot like that. And that's about as close as you get. I would say at best it's probably a spiritual successor. You're playing essentially the role of...
Go to.
Go to. You're playing the role of these monks, and they all kind of represent the element of the color that they are. But the point of the game is that you're trying to capture the monk to your right, while not being captured by the monk to your left. And this is done playing the 4 elements, which are essentially your go chips, if you will. But each element has ways that they interact not only with another element, both being defeated by an element and both by defeating an element, but they also interact with with themselves, allowing you different bonuses. And just to go them very shortly, the water token essentially creates a flowing river. And as you place that token down, it'll pull that river, and you can turn and move it up to as many spaces as there are water tokens that are linked to one another. So you can have a river, you can have like a river like down at the bottom right corner of the board suddenly move up into the top left because somebody placed a token that allowed it to move. So it can keep, as long as you keep placing another water token in front of it, you can keep making that river move around and expand and turn in new directions. Fire, if you place a token of fire down and you place a token on any side of it, that's another fire token, that will cause a third one to appear on the opposite side. It creates a firewall, if you will. And that will continue to happen, so fire will always continue to expand out on opposite end that you put a fire token down on. Earth tokens allow you to create essentially mountain ranges, which are very restricting in how you can move through them. Normally, you can move diagonally through spaces, but if there's a mountain range that is set up because you stacked Earth tokens up and they're connected to other Earth tokens, you can no longer move diagonally through them. They require different ways to be moved around. And then air, it allows you essentially a free movement, but also allows you to jump over things. The more tokens of air that you stack up on them, up to max 4, you will jump that many spaces, as well as not counting for a move on your turn. The general strategy between these is to utilize them to surround an opposing monk that you have, a guru, so that he can no longer move. And you're going to do this by pulling tokens from a bag. They're at random. It was actually very strategic. We actually had a lot more fun on this than we thought we were. It was actually one of the games we went into that we were iffy about. But we had a lot of fun. It's very strategic because of the moving board and the way that elements can actually get rid of elements like water defeats fire, fire defeats air, air defeats earth because you can just jump over a mountain range, and earth defeats water. Gave us a lot of ways to kind of like stop somebody or to take control of something that they had been building up for their purpose. The next person could take control of that and use it for their benefit instead. It was a lot of fun, actually. So it's only 4 players max, though. And 60 minutes, I would say, is actually probably the only game maybe in this list I would argue is longer than expected, at least until you get a hang of it. Then I would actually say it's kind of almost the opposite, where like normally games get faster once you learn them. I would say this game actually probably increases in time as you learn it, just because of the strategy that's involved with it. It's actually really well done. After that is Fate of the Other Gods. We were able to demo this one. This is a game that I thought was looking kind of interesting, and my fiance thought was pretty interesting as well. Not as much as I, but we ended up playing the game and kind of left downhearted on it. Essentially, long story short, you're not playing the investigators. You're playing the cultists in this game. You want to summon up the elder god that is on your side. Each of the elder gods has their own abilities to them. But that's about it. Everything else is pretty symmetrical in playstyle. Your Elder Gods have their own abilities, though, so that's the asymmetry to it all. The general idea is that you want to keep sacrificing them so you can get more points to get closer to summoning up your Elder God. And there's ways to do this. You can take control if you have more occultists than everybody else out, but you need a minimum as well. You can actually take control of that area, and it'll give you extra bonuses. You'll have spells that require meeting certain color requirements that you can lay down and prep that will give you bonuses. You can curse your opponents. You can get a bonus. You can do different things with the spells. It allows a lot of variety in that regard. But the game is, I believe it was $60. And at 1 to 4 players, a $60 game, and not having, I would say, tons of replayability, was kind of steep in our eyes. It's interesting, but it didn't really keep us there. We'd play the game again, but I mean, you kind of already know what you're getting into when you play the game. The spells help keep variety up and give some replayability to it, but the general core of the game, fundamentally, a lot of what the game is about is going to be the same thing over and over. So, it is only 4 players as well, which was another problem. I believe they're coming out with an expansion later on that will add more Elder Gods and allow you to play up to 6 players, but as of right now, there's only 4 out. 30 to 90 minutes. I would say 90 minutes is probably right when you're first learning the game. It took us a while to get through it. The game art looks interesting, though. It's not bad game art. I actually like that a lot. The board was very cool, too, because the board is just like this circular platform. There's a lot of cool stuff about it, but it wasn't amazingly awesome, I think. So, next game up, damn it, Obs.
Keep going.
Is Fantasy Realms. It's poker. It's effectively poker. And I want to start off like that, but it's not actually poker. Fantasy Realms is a very quick game. 3 to 6 players, although you can actually play 2 players as well. 20 minutes game time is damn well on the spot. It's a very simple game. You're essentially you draw cards and you're trying to create the best realm, either by having the best military, creating a very hazardous realm for your opponent through like weather effects or land, or you're trying to create a very magical realm using like the best and strongest spells, wizards at its side. What you're essentially trying to do is create the best hand, because at the end of the game you're going to lay down your 7 cards and you're going to add up the points on them, and then you're going to add in their bonuses or their penalties, and then you're going to see who has the most points, and whoever has the highest wins. And that's pretty it. We actually enjoyed ourselves with the game. It was pretty nice. It was very cool that it was a very short play time. It's also very cool that it has a lot of players that can actually play the game. It's pretty enjoyable.
Cool.
So we did pick up that one. So here's the game I'm going to say is probably the worst one we went through. I'm sorry, AEG, but this was not that great of a game. Custom Heroes. If you've ever played, it's not Mystic Vale. What is it called? Valley of the Mystics? Something. It's another game that's akin to this. It's also made by AEG. But the concept is that you essentially have these cards, have these plastic sleeves, and as you get more cards from the deck as you buy them, you put them on the card, and it modifies things about the card.
Oh yeah, I can see like all the little pips.
Yep, all the little pips on the card and whatnot. You can't overwrite any pips that were there before. But overall, that's the premise of the game. It kind of sucks for Custom Hero, though. The concept is that you want to get rid of your hand. And you can either do that by playing multiples of the same cards, or cards of higher value, as long as it meets, as long as it is either it's a higher value and is the same amount of cards that the person that started the round played down. Otherwise, you have to pass your turn. You can get equipment cards that change the values on your cards or give them extra abilities to do this, but ultimately that is the name of the game, is to get rid of all of your cards, which give you points and allow you to draw equipment cards for the next round. The only problem I have with this is that once you are done with the round, and everybody's taken their turn, gotten their equipment cards, their points to spend for abilities, as well as their victory tokens. You take all the cards, shuffle them together, and then deal out new cards to everybody, which means that the cards that you might have built up last round are probably in somebody else's hands now. Which, it kind of sucks, because that meant that the card I built was eventually going to go to somebody else, and I might get a hand, especially in the beginning of the game when nobody's had a lot of customizations yet. You're probably going to get a hand where you might not have any abilities in any of the heroes. So you're starting like you're playing the first round of the game again. So your playstyle and your winning for it you really don't get to see the cards and the heroes that you built up. So while it's custom heroes, it may not be your custom heroes. And that kind of sucked. We ultimately decided to pass on it. We were actually kind of looking forward to this game, but we ultimately did pass on the game. It is 2 to 6 players. It is about 45 minutes playing time. I would say it's probably going to be way longer than that, especially if you play with more people. We had 6 players. It was definitely more than 45 minutes playing time. Yeah, I would say I don't remember the price range of the game. I didn't bother to ask. That's just how disinterested I was in the game after playing it. So.
Because I like this. I mean, I know we keep saying that it seems like these games all have good artwork, but I kind of like the artwork on it. And it's like,
yeah, it's not bad artwork. It's actually pretty cool stuff. I mean, they hit all the archetypes of like heroes. They have your edgies for obs, and then they have like robots and superheroes and cat girls and shit like that. So you have all of it under the sun, but it just wasn't satisfying because you never really got to see the fruits of your labors from building up your custom heroes with the equipping cards that you put on them. Next game that we played is the last one. It's the 3 on this list that we did not have on the list of games of like the 30 to 40 games that we had. Was one. It's called Vast: The Crystal Cavern. I only want to just give a quick drive-by on this one just because the game costs about $60.
Yeah, you can get it on Amazon for $40.
Yeah, that's the funny part, and I was going to point that out afterwards, is that you can get the bloody game on Amazon for $40. So,
has it been out for a while?
I don't know.
I think oh wait, no, never mind. I'm misreading something. But
I thought it came out during Gencon or a little bit before or after it. But
it is the highest rated game of all the ones you've had so far on Board Game Geek.
Yeah, it is, which is it's kind of funny actually about that. It is definitely it's very asymmetrical. The catch of the game is that everybody is playing a different part of the game, and it is 1 to 5 players. But essentially, I didn't see all the factions, but I did see 4 of them. You have the knight who's going through the crystal caverns to defeat the dragon. You have the goblins who just live there and are trying to, continue to grow up, build their tribes and whatnot. You have the dragon who's been slumbering about a bit, and he's about to waken soon. And then when he wakes up, he's going to fly out of the cavern and show everybody the power of the dragon. And then you have the cave itself, which is a playable character. Somebody is actually playing the cave. So their whole objective is to expand really quickly and then collapse in on everybody and crush them all. Which I thought was probably the funniest part of the whole game.
I like that.
But it's very asymmetrical. Your objectives, how you play the game, how you play your character, oftentimes it comes with either cards of a deck that have nothing to do with anybody else. There may not be a deck for other characters. They have very different focuses. How they power up, how they progress along is very different. Like the dragon wants to gain pride, and he does this by either eating goblins, getting treasure, unmarking areas that have like events on them. He wants to do that, but the knight's generally trying to go around grabbing treasure, defeating goblins, going through completing objectives and little quests that they have and stuff like that. If my memory serves me right, I didn't actually play it, so I was kind of more focused on me being the dragon. But they generally have different ways of going about trying to get their victory and powering themselves up, and the knight I think even gets equipment to help with that as well. So it's very different. It was really interesting in that fact, but I don't know if it was worth $60 for it, though at 40, I would say it's probably worth it at that point. It's very interesting though. The game was fun for what we played. The artwork is very intriguing. It's very different.
I've been looking through the pictures on Board Game Geek, and I'm loving the art.
Yeah, it's almost fable-ish cartoon style. I don't know how else to put it. It kind of reminds me of It reminds me of Calvin and Hobbes, actually, the art design.
Kind of, yeah, but like
Yeah.
fantasy stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can see that, yeah.
so it's really, it was an interesting game, but we just didn't pick it up because it was $60, and we just weren't fully certain on it. We actually didn't get to play through much of this demo. We got 2 rounds, and that was about it. They were only doing 2 rounds of demo, so...
Yeah, it looks like it's a pretty time-intensive game.
Yeah. They show 1 to 5, like I said, already 5
Especially
players.
since, like, every time you play it again, if you have a new role, you kind of have to learn that.
Yeah. It will take you time to learn. I don't know all the factions. Like I said, the 4 that are the ones that they had out. They had a 5th faction apparently, but I don't remember what.
It looks like there's like Goblin's Cave, Dragon, Knight, and then some other dude, maybe a thief.
I think it's the thief. Yeah.
Yeah.
My fiance just told me it's a thief. She's like, it's a thief. So there's a thief in the fight as well, and he's just trying to steal everything. So there you go. Next one up is 10-minute heist, The Wizard's Tower. This game is super simple. You are playing the best thieves in the world. The wizard has left his tower for the evening. You have all decided to sneak in and steal as much of his stuff as you can, and then vamonos before he returns. It is quite literally a 10-minute game. I would actually say even shorter than that. 2 to 5 players. The way the game is set up is that all the cards are set up in a I think about 5 or 6 columns, and then about I think 5 or 6 cards across in a row. I don't remember how many, so don't quote me on that one. But it goes down, and essentially you start at the top of the tower, and you go down each floor. But once you go down a floor, you can't go back up. You can go side to side anywhere you want. But once you go down a floor, you are stuck on that floor. You can pass up as many floors as you want and stop anywhere you want, but you are stuck there. You cannot go back up. There are some cards that allow you to kind of get away with taking things that are higher up. Like there's the Blink Cloak or the Displacement Cloak, which allows you to steal 1 item, like that's anywhere, regardless if it's below or above you. It won't move you, but there's that. There's some other cards that allow you to trade cards with other thieves that have stolen stuff. So if you're really looking for something, you can do it, and so on and so forth. You're essentially trying to get the most of each type of card. You'll see the colors on if you go to Board Game Geek. You can see all the different colors of it. But you want either most of the colors. You want to be the first one out. Gives you the most points as well. You also want to have the least amount of cursed items, and then just having the highest value of items to give you points. And essentially the objective is to have the most points at the end of the game. We actually enjoyed it. It was a lot of fun. It was very quick, entertaining.
Yeah.
So
I thought the art looked familiar. The artist is the same guy who did Imperial Settlers, which I have and like.
Oh, very cool. Very, very cool. So, yeah. We actually ended up buying this game. It is very easy to play. It is very friendly for your children as well. So if you're looking for something where your kids can play, this is definitely something that will keep them entertained. It'll be an easy 10 minutes of distraction. And if they really like it, they can play it again. Very easy. So we picked that up as well. So the last game I've got here is Bemused. This was actually a very interesting game. The artwork is, I'm going to point this one out again, is phenomenal.
Oh yeah, I'm looking like they've got like full art cards.
Oh yeah, all the cards have full on art for them for your characters. Wonderful choosing of colors to give a theme to each of the characters.
Yeah.
It is. That's actually what picked us up on this game the most was the artwork. We just saw it. It is gorgeous. The Bemused is the name of the game. It is for 4 to 6 players. 15 to 30 minutes is actually spot on. The game is not that long. You are playing a type of artist in some shape or form, whether you be a poet, a singer, a musician, a thespian, whatever the case may be. You are essentially a deity that is trying to make this individual of yours, your muse, the greatest of all. But instead of trying to just, instead of doing it probably the easier way, which is making them the greatest of their ability, you decide that you're going to try to fuck everybody else over. And you're going to do that by either making them doubt themselves or dreading things, and eventually causing them to go insane and die. So, very roundabout way of, I guess, attaining the best, muse in the world. But that's the name of the game. Each of these muses of yours have different abilities that can affect the different cards. And each card is got a color and a symbol for it. That's actually, I want to specifically state this because they mentioned this out. This game is actually colorblind sensitive. It's friendly to them. So even if you have colorblind issues, this is a game that you can still play because all the symbols on there are based. They've got the colors just for the colors' sake of itself because it's really nice. But if you're colorblind, you can play this game without any issues whatsoever because they've designed the cards in a way that show you exactly what they can do, regardless of that. So they made mention of it, and I felt, that's actually pretty cool that they did it. So it is. So this is actually the highest scored one now on board for the Board Game Geek games at a 7.6.
Oh, I meant rank. This is rank 8,000. The other one was rank 500.
Oh, I didn't know that. Yeah, you're right. That is ranked. I didn't even notice that. Huh.
Yeah. And then some of them haven't come out yet, so they don't have a rank.
Yeah. The game is actually pretty simple. Each, like I said, of the actors has the ability to change how certain cards play either on themselves or on other individuals around them. The biggest thing about the game is that regardless if you are dead, insane, or the like, is that you can still win.
Oh, that's good.
Even if you're a ghost. So even if you're taken out dead, once you're dead, your job is to try to kill as many other players as well, because that gives you the most points. If you are alive but not insane, you gain a number of points based on certain criteria. If you are insane, how that criteria works is changed, but you still gain points based on how well you play.
That's cool. You don't get kicked out and can't play.
Yep, your general objective at that point is to kill people. The other thing to note is that you have a secret relationship with one of the other muses. This might be a good thing where you're trying to keep them alive. You want to keep them either in a certain state of mind or alive, or it might be where you hate them or want to see them dead, and you will stop at nothing to do so because that will give you bonus points at the end of the game if you meet your secret objective. Of course, who the person that you have the secret objective with is sometimes a mystery, but you can show it up early, and if you show it early, it will change it because the way the game, and I probably is a little bit too much in depth on it, but the way the game is, if you show who your individual is, it doesn't tell them what your relationship is, just that this person is the person I have a relationship with. And essentially what happens is if you go insane and people don't know, you'll get a penalty because it flips over automatically to show people who it is. However, if you flip it up early while you're still sane, you'll take a penalty now, but when it flips back over, when you do go insane, you'll get a benefit for it. So you can decide to either flip it over, reveal it early, take the penalty now, or take it once you've gone insane. It's actually a really fun game. We had a lot of fun with this one. It was very quickly. I got killed right off, like the bat. The second round in, I was dead, and I decided to kill everybody with me. It was actually a pretty funny game. We had a lot of fun just playing the game. I would recommend it. It's a little bit complex, but nothing that I would say that wouldn't stop you. I think the fact that it's just 6 players in general is really fun. So you can get generally a good gaming group in as well on it. The only problem I would say is that it apparently does have a minimum of 4 players. So you do need to have 4 from the start. You can't play this like 2 or 3. At least that I am aware of. It is meant to have 4 people in it. So, but yeah, these are all the games that we got to demo at Gencon and either picked up or are set aside. We had a lot more games that we did not get to play because they weren't out, and there were some games that we didn't buy that we wanted to because we had to demo the game because there were certain games out there like Rising Sun, which is $100. Beautiful, gorgeous game. Absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah, the models are great.
Models are fantastic. The colors are splendidly used. But at $100, I am probably going to want to demo that game, which unfortunately was an event. So you actually had to pay $5 to just demo the bloody game.
Oh, wow.
So I would, yeah. Yeah.
And you didn't spend your whole day playing the new edition of Twilight Imperium.
No, I didn't do that. So
I did see people doing that.
You didn't?
I said I did see people doing
Oh
that.
Oh
wow,
my god.
that's like a full day commitment.
I don't. Any game that requires a full day commitment is not a game I want to demo at Gen Con.
It
Oh,
looks
no.
like it looks just like the old game, but with new, better art.
Ah.
Obviously, I'm sure it plays differently, but
Yeah,
it
I'm
looks
sure
like
there's been some rules changes. Maybe they've cut down the
Probably.
time by an hour or two.
So instead of 24 hours game time, it'll be 22. But yeah, so there were some games that were like that, but that was pretty much all the games we hit up.
All right, Mal, what's your topic?
Well, I'm going to talk about a game that was at Gen Con, even though I wasn't there.
Or Mal.
And that is Starfinder. Which,
Oh yeah.
Yeah, which Meta was lucky enough to grab and sold
Yes,
out
I
in like
was.
5 hours.
yeah,
They-
and I think
yeah.
even Amazon is sold out by now.
They were actually surprised. They on the tweet that they put out, they said this was overly optimistic on the number that they brought in. They did not expect to sell out, but they sold out. on
Yeah,
Thursday.
because I don't think they were, or I think it was all internal. They didn't use any of their, they didn't like, because they have like, so this is by Paizo, who does Pathfinder, for people to know, which is a refining of the Dungeons and Dragons 3.5 rules. It's kind they went and made Pathfinder when D&D went and made 4th edition. And then, so now they're coming out with Starfinder, which is similar rules and in space now. But yeah, they didn't use, because they use like, what's it called? I guess contractors? Yeah, I guess. For like to help with a lot of their Pathfinder stuff for like companion books and whatnot. And this was all done internally. They didn't even play test it like they did with Pathfinder stuff. But
Really?
yeah. So
We'll see
it
the
uses a
program.
lot. It's still a D20 system. It uses a lot of the rules from Pathfinder, but it does have some big differences. And like they have their big 5 up on their website, and that is hit points, stamina points, and resolve points is the first big one. You now, instead of having a pool of hit points, you have basically you have kind of 2, because it's almost, you end up with double the points. You have hit points and stamina points. Stamina points come off first, and then eventually hit points. And you also have a third pool, resolve points, which these are more like they kind of build into every character now, but it's like if you were to have like a grit pool or a kai pool, some classes do. Now everyone's got one. And the different classes will be able to use those points in different ways, but everyone can use 1 point and spend like a short rest, 10 minutes, to regain all of their stamina points back.
Woo.
Yeah. So that's pretty cool. Yeah, like I think because you end up getting the soldier class is, I don't remember the exact numbers off the top of my head. It was like 8 hit points and 8 stamina points per level. So you end up with quite a bit more health or whatever have you overall. But you can only heal up the stamina points easily, and even like the hit points themselves only heal your level, or maybe 2 times your level whenever you rest for the night.
I don't fully know. I wasn't able to.
I know they go a lot slower. I can't remember if it's 1 or 2 times your level though. But every time you sleep, you only get a little bit of hit points back. But your stamina points all come back with just even a short rest if you spend a resolve point. And your resolve points regain at the end when you rest as well. So yeah.
That is really interesting.
Yeah. Oh, and you can also use resolve points if you get knocked down, because you lose all your stamina, and then if you lose all your hit points and you're at 0, you can use resolve points to stay up. But if you hit 0 on all 3 pools, you're dead.
Wow.
Yeah. I am interested to see the design. I haven't actually seen a lot of the design decisions for that, but I'd be interested in seeing it. It seems pretty cool though. Like everyone can, it's not as reliant on like clerics and stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, it's sort of like kind of from what 4E did with like hit die and whatnot. Everyone being able to at least heal themselves
Healing
somewhat.
surges.
Yeah. Now the second big thing is armor classes. You have energy armor class and kinetic armor class, because there are energy weapons, like a flaming sword, would go off of energy armor class, and then just a normal sword made of metal or whatnot would go off kinetic armor class. And then armors, or like if you would equip armor, it'll have 2 separate values. Although for the most part, they're fairly close, based off armor. So you have 2 different armor pools, but in Pathfinder you actually have 3 because you also have flat-footed and touch, and you don't have that in Starfinder at all. So you only have the 2 to worry about. Flat-footed still exists, but it's a condition, and you if something's flat-footed, you do 2 more points of damage against it.
Huh.
Yeah. So they say it's a big change. I don't think it's quite as big as like the hit points thing or the next one, which is no iterative attacks. So your attacks are not tied to your base attack bonus anymore.
I didn't get that far in the rules. How does it work then?
Yeah. So before it was like at 6, and then every 5 after that you could make extra attacks.
Yeah, I remember that.
Up to 4 attacks for like the full base attack bonuses once you hit 16. But now any character at level 1 to 20, as they say, can choose to do a full round action, and instead they get 2 attacks at -4 to both. And then there are a few classes that will give a 3rd or even a 4th attack. So that's a pretty big difference. I actually have seen a lot of like I think mostly I've seen it's a positive change.
I actually have to kind of agree with that. I actually kind of like that change a lot. I don't know if I would say it's better or not, but I think it's a very interesting one. I did like it.
So Pathfinder has a lot of numbers coming in, like compared to like 5th edition where they simplified it a lot more.
Yeah.
But they did simplify things in Starfinder, not to the level of 5th edition for numbers floating around, but and other rules. And the next one is attacks of opportunity. A lot of things could trigger those, and now it's only 3 things, which is moving out of a threatened square, making a ranged attack, or casting a spell. That's it. Like drinking a potion, or standing up.
That's actually interesting, is that they took some of the ones that like kind of made sense, like standing up requires effort and whatnot. And I could see that provoking attack of opportunity, but they took those down. Yeah, it's just the 3 now.
Yeah, again, they simplified a lot of things.
Yeah.
Also, magic is magic. That's what they say. There's no differentiating between arcane or divine or whatnot. It's all considered the same source, basically, instead of like having different rules if you're an arcane caster or a divine caster. They still have different spell lists. There are only 2 in the basic or in the core book, 2 spellcasters. But and then there are also no components with the magic, no verbal or somatic. It's like fingers moving. You just have to be able to cast the spell, and like basically you have to be able to take an action to cast the spell and have concentration.
Really?
Yep. But if someone, because if you were to get hit while casting, you lose the spell.
Oh, okay. So there's no rolling to see if you keep the spell?
Right. There's no concentration checks. Anything that would have been like a concentration before is just you straight lose it now.
Yeah. Okay. Huh, well, that's a fair trade-off, I guess.
Yeah, that really only affects like really long cast, like more than an action, because if you like ready an attack to attack someone when they cast a spell, if it's only an action spell, the attack happens after the spell. But if it's a full round action spell, your attack will cancel it if you hit.
Really?
Yep.
That seems really weird. Yeah, I would probably home rule it away from that. That seems really weird. That like,
well, because then you could never cast a spell like possibly.
You'll just move away.
Ranged is the dominant thing in this. If you just hold an action to take a shot at someone.
Yeah, for ranged attacks.
True.
I'm thinking melee though.
Yeah, no. There are a lot of guns in this one.
Yeah, I forgot all about that. It's really my Pathfinder life.
Yeah. Probably one of the bigger things, I guess, is the items that isn't on this list. Because like level 1, they all have levels now, which is like kind of they're like a built like DCs would be tied to an item level if an item has a DC, but
Yeah.
it's also for when like it starts to show up. So because by default in large cities you can only get up to two plus your level worth of item levels or whatever, and smaller ones it's 1 plus your level. But and as the levels go up, the damage dice goes up.
Yeah, I
It's
was
like-
actually really surprised by
Yeah.
that because, like, you know, later on you can start rolling like 11 d10s. I'm like, what the hell?
Well, so yeah, people have fewer attacks, and you have more hit points, so that kind of works into the hit points decision. But yeah, all like level 1 weapons are like the same damage as Pathfinder, but there's a lot less bonuses, I believe, also going to weapon damage and whatnot.
Yeah,
Which is good. Pathfinder
didn't-
has lots of math.
I
Right?
didn't-
They tried to cut down on that.
I didn't see many plus bonuses. I mean, there are abilities that your class is gonna have that will
yeah.
add them, but
Because well, they also did a weapon specialization, which everyone gets at level 3, which is to you get your level in damage to each attack, unless it's an operative weapon, which is the finesse version, or small arms, which are like pistols and stuff. Then it's half your level. But like a rifle or a big sword would be your level to damage.
wait, so everybody just gets that level 3?
Yep.
I missed that. Holy shit.
Anything you're proficient in, so you have to be proficient in the weapon.
Wow.
Yeah.
You don't take that as a feat at level 3. You just get it for free.
Right. Correct.
Wow.
I like the job. Like you have a job and a class.
Yeah,
kind of
actually,
thing.
like,
kind of
that's
had themes. What do they call it in this
like,
one? Character themes, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, character themes.
Instead of like backgrounds in 5th edition Dungeons and Dragons. So they have themes, which would be like ace pilot, bounty hunter, icon, can be a celebrity, or mercenary.
I was like, this is hitting all of my Macross like RPG bullet points
yeah.
here. I was like, I want to play a Technomancer Ace Pilot.
So the themes, like if you're an ace pilot, as you level up, you'll get like bonuses to basically being a pilot. They're all kind of skill based. They're not really combat based or anything like or give like extra damage or something for even the mercenary. They're all like usually skill based. They also give a point in a stat, but I've seen like on the forums like it's pretty much irrelevant because of the way like they do stats in this one, like because it's always just an odd, like by the time you hit even level 20 it'll basically you'll have a random odd stat in your theme.
Yeah.
Probably. It affects having it in strength is nice because you can hold some more stuff, and then there are like 20 feats that have odd stat requirements, so it could help there. But for the most part, it's a little largely pointless. Whatever stat your theme gives you.
No.
Yeah. But yeah, the themes are pretty cool, similar to what 5e did, and then I think 13th Age also is a big thing for them to have backgrounds too.
Mm-hmm.
So the races, they have rules for all the Pathfinder races, and trying to convert classes over, but it has its own races built in. Only humans carry over from the core Pathfinder races.
Yep.
You have androids, which are robots that look like humans, basically.
Beep boop.
Yeah, they can install an armor upgrade slot, so that's kind of cool. You can have jump jets built into you, or or whatever, what have you, eventually. Because I think jump jets are like a level 7 item or something like that. So
Yeah.
I want jump jets installed in my.
We all want jump jets. Cats.
so yeah, that's pretty cool. You got your humans, which are pretty much a complete carryover from Pathfinder.
And they're still fantastic as ever.
Yep, they still get that feat.
Yep.
You have the Kasarthas. Yeah.
Cathartic.
Space name.
They're space samurai.
Yep, they're Space Japan.
Yeah, they are from a different solar system or what region of space that the main books, like the I guess the core story area, whatnot, or the default one. They've come from a dying world, and they ended up in this one, this solar system. They've got 4 arms, which lets them carry like 4 weapons, but they don't get extra attacks because of it. But it does let you have a variety. If you had like 4 different elements in each hand, it lets you hit different energy types without having to switch over or whatnot.
But you're actually should just make mention here. The energy types that you like saw in Pathfinder and whatnot, where they were generally like either had to pick a magical weapon and it just added that type of bonus damage, or you had to be a spellcaster that had those kind of spells. Energy types are all over the place this game. Like having something
built
that's
into
fire,
the weapon.
Yeah, having fire damage is the norm. Having like cryogenic, frost damage is the norm. Lightning, all of this stuff.
Yep.
It's pretty
You
normal.
can even get a plasma weapon, which does half electricity and half fire, I believe.
Yeah.
Ooh,
So it's
nice.
they're these like energy types are everywhere.
They also then the next one is the Lashunatas. Yes, Lashunatas, which are basically humans with antennas, and they have diamorphic bodies types built in. They have a built-in subrace. Basically, you pick either dwarf or elf to get a different. Either you get strength or intelligence. Yeah.
Yar.
And then
The best race coming up.
Shirans,
Yes, the best race.
the bug people.
Yes.
Yeah, they're basically so they're also from outside of the
Play a cleric.
solar solar system. They were part of the Swarm, which are basically the Tyranids from Warhammer 40k. Just hive-minded bug things that swarm over everything, or the Zerg.
Yes.
But these broke off from the hive mind and have discovered a sense of individualism, and they kind of get a high every time they make a choice. I read.
I love that fact about them. It's like they get always like a little bit happy or giddy like whenever they can make a choice with something. It's like, do I want lasagna or do I want the sandwich?
Right. Yeah, and so they've got, I think, they've got telepathy.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're bug people. They look pretty cool.
They're kind of I think mantid in nature. I don't have an actual image in front of me.
Kind of locusty, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Locust or grasshopper.
And then you have the Vesk, which are also from outside the solar system. They came to this one to conquer it. They're the warriors culture or whatnot. They try and just conquer over everything. But while they were fighting with this solar system, the Swarm invaded, and they the Pact Worlds, which is this solar system, and the Vesk came to a truce and then fought back against the Swarm, and they basically have a begrudging peace, whatnot.
I like that the Vesk and the cover of their race section looks like alien lizard Tim the Tool Man.
Oh
He
yeah,
has a giant wrench and like a hammer on his belt.
that's actually the female, I think.
Is it really?
Yeah, the females are
It's-
bigger.
Doesn't matter. It's
Oh.
still a tool man for me.
Well, excuse me. Triggered.
Alice, the tool man, Taylor.
They've got natural weapons built in. They're good at using armor. But yeah, they're lizard people that love to fight, or at least the default for their culture or whatnot. And
Nice.
then there's the Yosoki, which are little mouse people.
Ratlings.
And they're
They've got cheek
adorable.
pouches.
They're adorable.
You can fit 19 grenades in their cheek pouches.
They're adorably dangerous.
Then you shoot them in the face and their head explodes.
Oh no! Oh.
I'm just saying, that sounds like a bad idea.
Yeah, I know. Everyone's been
That-
talking about it though, and
It's
yeah,
like-
someone's like, "Oh, you tripped, and now you hear a beeping coming from your teeth."
Oh my god, it's
Yeah.
amazing.
I didn't know I was playing Mouse Guard in space.
Wow. It's amazing.
Yeah, they love technology. They're one of their abilities is Moxie because they're scrappy and nimble and whatnot. So, those are the races. Pretty cool. I would probably end up playing a human though, like always.
I'd probably make an old Pathfinder race, or one of the bug guys. I think the bug guys are cool.
The Shiran is definitely a race I want to play, but I mean, there's just always human. I just enjoy being human.
The humans on the Yosoki planet have red skin, I believe.
Oh.
Not that has any stats difference. They've already actually said, I think in March is their first splat book, which is fully detailing out the Pact Worlds, which is where the main the official story is, I guess.
That'd be pretty cool.
And one of the Pact Worlds, they blew up their twin planet because they wanted to conquer all the planets and whatnot, and so they blew that up, and that's now like an asteroid field. But it also backfired and like irradiated their entire planet, and now they're all undead. And I think rules for making one of those guys is going to be in that book.
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, I just found a new awesome race.
Yeah, because they to keep their society going, like they'll have like people bring them fodder to create more undead and whatnot.
That is awesome.
Yeah.
I actually kind of want to do. I'm tempted. I shouldn't say want to do, but I'm tempted to join the Starfinder Society for this one, because man, I cannot wait to get into a game with Starfinder.
What is the society?
Starfinder Society. It's
like
just like the official. It's like the Pathfinder Society. It's just the official.
The Paizo.
I don't actually know what that is though.
Oh, it's
like the
like
Adventurers
Heroes...
League or Heroes of Rokon.
Yeah, exactly like that. Essentially, like you create a character, you go through, you join either generally like at least in the Pathfinder Society one, you join like a faction, and then you do adventures and you try to progress the goal, and it's a little bit more controlled on what you can get, how like magical items are handed off.
Oh yeah, I mean I've read about the Pathfinder Society, and I know like they limit certain rules. I just didn't know how it worked.
You just go to events and like modules that are made for this thing by other people.
Interesting.
You play through the modules, and then like you check it off on your character or whatever.
I just want to get through the classes real quick. There are 7 of those. None from Pathfinder are in this book.
Samurai.
No. You have the Envoy, which might be my favorite actually, which is kind of
You mean Han Solo?
Well, yeah, I guess. They're the skill monkey, but also the face, and they can buff and debuff people. And then there's a mechanic where you get either a drone friend or you get an AI in your head to make you better at fighting. The mystic, which is one of the magic users and is like mystic magic. I guess old style, because one of them can even be like a druid, and then another one like channels star powers. The operative, which is the rogue, really good at hiding and using skills and decent in combat. There's a Solarian, which is kind of has a lot of force powers and a built-in lightsaber. They're the melee class. But they also focus on stars. They can either go into a gravity mode or basically a starfire mode. I can't remember what the official names are. And then there's the soldier, which is just straight combat, good at weapons and armor. And then the technomancer, which is, tech magic. Also really cool. I like the blending of technology and magic for him. One of their spells lets them they've got a few that let them create junk bots to do different tasks. Basically, you just point at a broken pile of junk and create a quick robot friend.
Crash into friends.
It's all about Technomancer or the priest one. Technomancer or priest. Yeah, they're all pretty cool. I think Mystic's my least favorite. Unfortunately, I think Envoy and Solarian fall a bit behind, at least in early game, behind like the Soldier and Operative. The Operative has an ability to
at like a level 3, I think, jack of all trades that lets it just be really good at all skills. Kind of, I think it just takes over and does the envoy. You can just be better at skills in the envoy, which is. But overall, I really like them.
I gotta kind of admit the soldier does seem to take over a little bit against the Solarian.
Early game, definitely, but
early game.
I mean, I think at like level 20, the math works out to the Solarian doing like 75 points more damage on their attacks. So, yeah, the eventually the Solarians outpace them, but it does take a bit. And they're a little weaker at like, especially at like level 1 compared to a soldier. But they all look really fun. I would play any of them.
We're gonna have to play this for monthly modules.
Yeah, we're gonna definitely have to play this for
very
monthly
soon.
We'll need to build a ship.
Yeah. It's assumed everyone has a ship.
Yes.
Of course,
everybody
you can
gets
have
a ship.
rules for not like at least for maybe you
Yes.
don't have a ship at the start or
Yes.
whatnot. But yeah, everyone gets a ship, and there's
have-
rules for building it. There's
already
rules
played
for
around with them.
hex-based ship combat.
Yep.
There are
The only
roles.
rules I've read is the ship
That's-
rules.
Freaking
rolls,
awesome.
like-
I've already started trying to like think of ways to min-max ships. It was horrible. I spent like hours just sitting there going, "Oh my god, look at all
Oh,
the
yeah.
ship rules."
That's another problem. Is at really high levels, the ship rolls are kind of the DCs are too high. Like I think a 70, a DC 70 for ship skill, and it's like that's way too high. You have to like be an operative to make a
Holy
70.
shit.
Don't
Yeah,
tell me the
but
odds.
that's at real high level, which very few people play, and hopefully they'll address that. The story actually seems kind of cool too. I think there's 300 years of history, and then after that point, going backwards, there's a big gap in history called the Gap, where 300 years ago, everyone kind of woke up out of or they all have amnesia, anything before that, and all records are gone. So it's very interesting. And the planet Galarian, which is the Pathfinder planet, has disappeared, and in its place is a very large space station in that orbit. And 3 years after the gap ended, some AI deities showed up and gave them interstellar travel. So, yeah, it's got some interesting story stuff, too. I've been reading through that. I'm interested, like, I want just to see how quickly they progress that and whatnot. Some don't.
I have to sit down and really look this over.
Get your splat book when it comes out.
I mean, the Gap is interesting. A lot of people think that it is tied to the Galarian, the Pathfinder world, and whatnot. But it's probably like it's a cute way to be like, we didn't really want to do 5,000 years of history, so there's a big gap there.
Yep.
But it's interesting enough. Yeah, I have been loving the whole book and definitely want to play it.
Yep, we're gonna get to it eventually. All right, Tats, what's your topic?
Well, before I get into my topic, I have a question for you three. You like nostalgia?
Yeah.
Oh, you do.
Right.
I respect
openly admit
nostalgia is a powerful thing.
Yeah, nostalgia is a very potent force, but I tend to like to take my glasses off, crush them, and look at it logically.
Now you're the edgelord.
Lord, I like to look at a game and say like,
Take off my
no.
glasses and crush them.
I like nostalgia, but I don't like it when nostalgia blinds me to the truth of what something has become.
When nostalgia is nostalgia for nostalgia's sake, it kind of gets a little stale. Well, I picked up a game that some people I think were afraid it was going to go that way, and some people may say that it did. And I'll get to my conclusion in a little bit. Yooka-Laylee. This was done by ex-Rare employees, the people who did Banjo-Kazooie, Donkey Kong Country Things, Conker's Bad Fur Day.
Jeez.
Do it.
I was just saying, oh geez.
Oh yeah, Grabbed by the Ghoulies. You know, all those games of the
best
Nintendo
Rare
64
game, Diddy Kong
3D
Racing.
platform. Well, I mean, the studio was Rare, but I don't know if it was the same, like that team. But
It's not the same style of game.
It's definitely much more similar of all of those examples to Banjo-Kazooie in the sense that you are playing two characters, Yooka and Laylee. Yooka is a chameleon, and Laylee is a bat who rides on Yuka's back. It had all the same
I'm
kind
hearing
of things.
Banjo-Kazooie.
Yeah.
One of
You
them
had
is
the same
smarmy.
Yeah, one of them, the bat's smarmy, and Yuka's, I wouldn't say dumb necessarily, but overly
Naive?
trusting. Kind of, yeah. So it definitely plays off of that. I think that it's fun and it's enjoyable in and of being a 3D platformer, partially because, kind of going back to something we talked about a few weeks ago, or I guess now a few months ago, we don't see much of that genre these days. Said, there were some aspects of the genre that they kept that they probably should have shaken off those shackles.
Should have killed those sacred cows.
Yeah.
Made hamburgers.
All of your interactions talking with people, it does the whole, just shows the head of the character.
Yeah.
And then the grunts of like
Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah, that whole thing, and so
Mumble.
that can get really annoying, and you can't skip them. You have to sit there, like if you fail something,
Oh
you
my
have to
God.
talk to the NPC again to do it again. Can't skip it, and it could have gotten rid of those. It could have been done with, done.
Yeah,
without
just
that.
some just some tweaks to the UI. It's like you're driving too hard for the nostalgia angle when every single little thing is just like old games. You can improve some quality of life stuff.
But I feel like the graphics update was still enough to harken back, but still enough to also make you go, this is a pretty game, it's colorful, it's fun, it's playful, but it's also not old, it's not outdated. I think they did a good job of taking both of those and melding them together.
It looks closer to like how you'd remember those old games without
Exactly.
actually looking at those old games.
Exactly. It does a good job of
Because your memory always upscales.
Yes, and it does does a good job of bringing that aspect of the nostalgia forward. Similarly, the gameplay and the controls, because I remember again, like thinking back to Donkey Kong 64 for a particular example. I went back and played that not too long ago. For crap, the camera angles drove me just bananas. I could not stand playing that. I had put it away, and it's like I loved this game. I used to play this thing forever. What the heck? But I feel like job of still modeling those things that were fun back then without just being like paste and keeping those old, because again, you can move the camera freely, which is amazing. The way that it handles your jumping and your attacks and everything, you don't have those weird laggy delays. It's just much more fine-tuned and polished. As you said, it does a good job of modeling the mechanics based off of how you remember them and not how they actually were.
It's interesting to hear you say that, because I watched a lot of reviews for the game when it was coming out, and that was a lot of people's biggest complaint, was how clunky the controls felt.
The controls do feel clunky if you compare them to most open world games, but again, the gameplay it is a different core game, and I feel like that's where a lot of those were kind of coming from. I don't know. As you said, the reviews were kind of negative. I pulled up Metacritic, and it has a Metascore of 68 and a user score of 6.1.
So that should be a decent game.
Yeah,
But yeah, it probably relies on nostalgia a bit to carry it a bit further.
Does. It does. But I also don't think that I don't think you pick up Yooka-Laylee without that knowledge, because they're not at all in any way, shape, or form hiding that. Like they have a lot of references. They have a lot of kind of breaking the fourth wall about what they're doing. They joke about, crowdfunding games. The Big Bad, pretty much is a caricature of AAA gaming as it is right now. So it's
I can see that be pretty hit or miss with people.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly what it is. If you didn't know anything about all of that kind of stuff and you walked into it, it's definitely much more negative. If you walk into it with
just wearing, your nostalgia glasses, it's going to be amazing tens everywhere, but it's also not deserving of that. I think it is a very good middle of the road game in that sense. It does a good job of harkening back to the nostalgia, but sometimes it does too much of nostalgia. But sometimes it does better where it builds on it. So I don't know. I'm enjoying it right now. I think that it's a fun little game. If you enjoyed those other games when you were younger, I'd say pick it up and at least give it a try. As I said, it's a 6.8 or 68 for a Metascore, which for me isn't that bad necessarily. But again, we also know that I tend to like games that most people don't. So I don't know.
Yeah.
Take it what you will.
Poor Tats.
Or tats.
Hey, you get to enjoy more stuff.
I don't hate most games. I guess is what it is. I just find fun in everything.
How can you find fun in things that I hate, tats?
I find fun in your hate, man.
I almost think the game's a little too colorful. Every time I've watched it, it almost makes me a little bit nauseous.
And I can see that being a pick. It is very colorful. It is very I don't want to say childish exactly, but it's cartoony, I guess, in that regard. That's something that those games had.
Yeah.
Like even Conker's Bad Fur Day, which definitely wasn't a game that you gave to your 5-year-old to play, still had that element of whimsical coloring and characters.
I haven't played those kind of games in a long time. I remember growing up with playing Gex.
Oh, Gex.
Like,
Gex was Gex was awesome.
That's like I haven't played games like that in years.
You ain't. All I gotta say is you ain't
much of a platformer.
You ain't played 3D platformers, so you played Bubsy 3D.
No,
You'll be picking up that new one day one, right?
Yeah, day one.
Hey,
camping out.
if we want to talk about nostalgia-driven stuff that was a success, I can change my topic to Sonic Mania all day and tell you about how amazing that game is.
No, don't spoil anything for me on that.
Hard pass. Hard pass.
That's okay. That's okay.
Hey, that game's freaking great.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good things about it.
Yeah,
Actually.
I've heard a lot of great things too.
But, anyways. Alright, let's get on to my topic, I guess. Meta kind of hinted at it earlier. I didn't do nearly as many demoing events and walking around the dealer hall
You lack the discipline required.
as Meta did. Yeah, exactly. I spent a lot of time playing D&D. That was a lot of my Gen Con. D&D and L5R.
Cool too.
Oh, yeah, for sure. But a game I wanted to try and I knew was going to be there, and that I was like, no, I'm not going to demo a whole lot of stuff, but this is one I definitely want to try, is Roba, or Radiant Offline Battle Arena, a game by Legendforge. I believe AEG was looking at publishing this game initially, and it kind of goes against their model. They're more trying to focus on quick, fast board games and kind of more family-centric stuff.
Are they?
For the most part.
They released Unicornus Nights, and that's not a quick, fast game.
Okay, well,
I don't know what the model is.
I'm just saying what I've been told. I'm just repeating it. Quote from an unknown source.
Don't shoot the messenger.
So, Wednesday I got into Indianapolis and met up with Spooky, Robert Denton, and some of the other guys before we went to go get dinner, which we do every year. And Spooky and George Maney, they're both also known as Batman from Winter Court 4, the guy who ruined the Empress Party. Who are both on the Last Province podcast, and Dan Deneen. We all met up on Wednesday, and I got to demo the game. Roba is essentially MOBA, the card game, and I believe you played this too, didn't you, Meta?
Yes, I played this with my fiance.
Yeah.
So
you can back me up on some of this. So essentially the way the game works is I kind of describe it as almost a mix between old 5R and Magic in a sense. You pick 3 heroes and they're like your MOBA heroes, and the point of the game, or the object of the game anyways, is to break 3 of your opponent's bases, and when you do so, you reveal basically like their ultimate, like, I think they called it like deity hero or something like that. I can't remember the exact terminology.
I Yeah, I don't remember it fully.
But
either.
basically, like their hidden powerful hero, and when that person was revealed, they could start attacking and defending with it and stuff. But every hero has a health pool. You can kill their heroes, and then you can buy them back, kind of like you would in a mobile game and stuff. So you pick 3 heroes, and it's kind of how you build your deck. And you have 3 bases, and you're restricted to choose certain bases based off what starting heroes you have. And they all have different abilities. They have cards in the deck that you can only play if you pick the heroes. So a lot of the game is choosing your heroes and finding ones that like synergize together and stuff. Basically, every turn you're allotted a number of action points. You use these action points to basically move between bases. You'll use them to attack bases. There's other various effects. I wish they had like a comprehensive rules thing up somewhere. There's not really a lot of information about the game on the internet, so I'm trying to remember a lot of this from memory. You use them to equip your heroes with equipment that you start with that you keep face down, so your opponent doesn't know what you have there. Or you can use them to level up your character, and so on and so forth. So leveling up makes your heroes more powerful. You'll basically flip them over, and they'll get kind of like a beefed up ability. And sometimes, like if you basically tap your hero to attack a base, you can declare a clash, and your opponent can decide if he wants to defend. If he defends, he taps his person. You also have to spend an action point to ready one of your heroes. And if you clash, it's almost like a duel in old 5R. You'll put a card face down, and you'll reveal it, and it'll have an attack stat on it, and you'll basically compare your attack stats. Every hero has an attack stat, which is kind of like power in Magic. Defense stat, which isn't really like anything. It's just like soak. So if you attack me with a 3 power hero and I have 1 armor, I'll reduce that to 2. And you have health, which is like toughness, but it doesn't refresh every turn of the game. So you'll put dice on your heroes to mark your hit points, almost kind of like Pokemon. And your heroes can get knocked out.
Card games.
Yeah,
It's all a card game.
that's the best way for me to reference this stuff because I don't have like a comprehensive rule book in front of me. Not even Dan and Spooky knew the rules completely as they were doing it. But yeah, so you get XP, you can level up your heroes. Your heroes will die. You can do stuff to like evoke your big bad, like your super powerful guy, and they'll have really powerful abilities. But if you do so, you're kind of exposing them, and then your opponent can attack them ahead of time and potentially knock them out of the game. So a lot of the game is about, it reminds me of L5R because you move around the board, and it's all about where you go and who you send to where, attacking certain bases. And when you attack bases, you will flip them up, and they'll have an ability on them that you'll get to trigger. You can also destroy your base to trigger the ability. So intentionally destroying your base can be very beneficial at certain points. Some of them are really good. They'll do stuff like give you free power points or action points. I can't remember whatever they were called. So you can just go all out one turn or refresh your hand and stuff like that. And a lot of the fun of the game is kind of the clashing and duels that you have. Every hero also has an ultimate attack that you use when you clash. Normally, if you're defending, you don't get to do damage back to the heroes. It's just more kind of blocking to make sure they don't crack your bases, and you're kind of investing like future action points in order to block them. There's one hero called Eleanor. She reminds me of like Mercy, but but more of like a medieval knight, kind of with weird mechanical Code Geass nightmare frame wings. And she can do damage on the defense. So I got to when the player attacked me with his big bad ultimate that he had evoked early, and I had her ultimate in my hand that makes her power go up to 7. So he like one-shotted the boss monster with her when I blocked with her. So
I gotta question you on something, because the way like we were told about for defending is that if they go to block it, then they just take damage, they don't hit back. But if you're attacking them and they're in the ready position, they will deal damage back to you.
that might be the case, but I thought you had to tap your guy to defend.
I don't fully know or not. It really did come up in the one game that we played. It didn't really come up a lot. We kind of just, went for the base more so than the other game.
I defended pretty aggressively, so I was always tapping and doing stuff.
No, I don't think they had to tap to defend.
Really?
Yeah, I attacked.
You could be right.
I attacked my fiance's character, and I don't think they had to tap to defend themselves.
You could be right. Like I said, I don't have the rules in front of me, but
yeah,
I know you don't do damage unless you have Eleanor in play. But there's one cool hero, because you have the 3 heroes, and you have your secret one. There's one cool secret one who just starts the game flipped over.
Yes.
And your whole playstyle, he's basically like, he looks kind of like the Lich King.
He's amazing.
And your whole playstyle is about buffing him up and being super aggressive, and he just like heals lots of damage done on him and stuff. So you can just go swing around madly with him.
He is so fantastic.
He's a super one. I can't remember what one I had did. I think he just gave you like a bunch of action points when you evoked him.
That's what I had too. Is the dragon one? He gives you like 5 power. Once he shows
so you
up.
can take like a big turn basically.
Yeah.
The little individual heroes were cool. There was one that lets you like he almost has like double strike and like magic. It lets you basically when you clash, you can put down 2 cards, so you can get double effect on that. There's one guy that would like heal people whenever he readied. So you could like heal your heroes. Yeah, the bear, Bran, I think was his name, something like that. There's a bunch of heroes too in the base game. I think there were like 12 to 15. They all seem really cool and interesting, and I like a lot about the game is kind of finding the right pairs to go together because there's literally so many different combinations. I think Spooky told me that they're going to start kickstarting it in February-ish. I don't know if you heard anything on that in meta.
I think that's what they told us too.
So it's still got a while before it's going to come out.
Yeah. They're still like cleaning up some of the, because a lot of the cards have like old text and stuff on them, was what Spooky was telling me. And,
there is a little bit to clean up in the game, I think. But I can get into that later on.
But I think it has really good potential.
How's the art? I don't
the
have
art. It's not bad.
Pretty good. Yeah, it's not bad.
When you think this is a mobile card game, then you see the art, you're like, okay, this looks like I'm staring at Dota art. It's basically what it is. Yeah. So, what are your thoughts of the game? I'm going to kickstart it, and I've never kickstarted anything.
Oh, that was your first time kickstarting. Oh, they grow up so fast.
Yeah, I know.
We enjoyed the game. I will admit, unfortunately, I had it came down with a very nasty migraine during the game. So I don't know if that's a reflection of the game or if that's just me.
It is. It's totally
Your
the
game
game.
killed me.
Your game killed me. But I enjoyed it. But if you've played a MOBA, if you have grown up with that on the gaming, there are a lot of things that are taken out from it. There are no minions. There is no building item trees. Generally, at least from what they showed, what they had on there was that you generally just buy the items. Power is really slow to get unless you succeed at performing either kills and the like, or you have a base that gives you power, or you have something else.
There's a keyword that will give you, if you have a character with this keyword in play, you'll generate a free power every turn.
Yep. So, but it's kind of slow going, which at least again from the demo that we're playing, we only played 1 round of it. Unfortunately, because I had a migraine, I had to go back and just lay down and go to sleep. It was pretty nasty. But I remember at the time, one of the things was you could get this really cool buff. It gave you 3 more power, and it gave you 1 more health. But it cost 7 power, and I was sitting there, I really don't want to buy that because the game went by very quickly.
Yeah.
I would also say that the ultimates are really powerful.
Yeah, they are.
Almost too powerful. My fiance, I broke her last base. Her celestial, or whatever the crap they're called. Guardian came out. And on my turn next, I readied up my 1 attacker, moved it over, attacked, dropped their ultimate, and one-shot the boss.
Yeah.
So they didn't even get like a round to really do much with them out on it. I just blew it up right away.
Yeah, you have to really. I think it's a lot just really knowing when you can flip the thing, and if you, I think almost if the game gets to the point where all 3 of your bases are destroyed and it gets evoked, you're in trouble.
Yeah,
Especially if it's towards the end, because your opponent can just literally, if they can like with their first action point break your last base, then you have to flip your guy, and they can just attack it.
Yep, and then there's also the thing that like you kind of have to make a choice, because when your main your guardian essentially just jumps out onto the field, you actually have to sacrifice one of your normal characters in place of it, which means that your team that was balanced around this idea of them 3 being out kind of gets gutted a bit in order to bring out this other individual creature. And it also means technically that like if you leveled them all up, which I mean, how are you having yours come out if you've leveled them all up? But you generally don't want to take the one that you already leveled up, because that took power to invest into.
Yep.
From it.
That's why I sacrificed the one that I didn't.
Yeah, that was the same thing for my fiance. She sacked the one that she hadn't leveled up yet. I would actually say that probably like it also kind of just feels like this. Maybe it's just me for the items that we had or didn't use. Leveling up your characters is probably far more important in my eyes than getting gear for them. The leveling up not only gives their stat lines increase, but their powers as well got better. Like Bran, for instance, when you level him up, he gets more health, which means your evoker is now harder to kill. But instead of healing 1 wound off an ally when they readied up, he healed 2 wounds. That's actually a lot.
Yeah.
The tank character that you have went from like he goes from like 2 defense, 7 health, 7 or 8 health, and like 3 attack or 2 attack to like suddenly 3, 4 attack and 9 health, and he even gained some damage reduction. He was just really. Oh no, he went up to 5 attack. He went from like a 3 to a 5. He was just as strong as my actual attacker. It was insane. I'm like, that's literally an equipment item. So leveling up your heroes almost is better than getting items. And I don't know if that's a design intent, at least for the heroes that I was playing with. But it's worthwhile.
It seems that way to me, because a lot of the cards kind of synergize with what your hero wants to do anyways.
Yeah.
So you kind of just do more, better what they do, kind of.
Yeah, I would say cheaper items are probably the better way to go, because first off, I mean, there's only so many rounds you're going to get. And if that expensive card that you put on your character doesn't get a couple turns at least to be put into use, it's a kind of a moot point to have. So I don't know if like they're going to change that, if they're going to up the power. I don't know, how long they're still working on in the game. But there are a number of like quality of life things I would like to see changed on it. I don't want to come off as harsh on the game, but having played an extensive amount of MOBAs, I can actually come to the table in here and say there's a lot of changes for this card game that you will feel a drastic change. If you're trying to get that full-on MOBA feel, you're not going to get it with the game. That said, it was still very fun. I had a lot of enjoyment out of it.
Yep, I loved it. I thought it was a blast. I wish I'd have got to play more of it, but like I said, I was playing lots of D&D.
It's going to be enough for you to kickstart it.
Yep.
The first time, so.
Yep. One of my friends I rode up with, who's a very harsh card game critic, seemed to like it a lot too. So.
I hope it does really well. I hope it succeeds. I kind of want to take off a bit, just because it is something different.
Yeah.
It's not a card game I've seen before.
And it's an Eternal card game, so that's the we're not a LCG, don't sue us FFG terminology, basically.
Eternal. Yeah, I know, right?
Like Doomtown and some others. So
this is TCG and CCG all over again.
Exactly. So I'm looking forward to it. Can't wait till February. I can kickstart it and see what some of the other stuff is. It'll probably be like get promo alt stuff, and I want that Eleanor mat because
design a character.
Awesome.
I wish I had
That'd be awesome.
For like 10 grand.
I really wish I had stuck around. I've been able to stick around for longer because I really wanted to try out like that Lich King Black Knight type character.
Yeah, and
oh my
yeah, he was cool. They also did a draft tournament, and draft sounded really interesting. I can't remember exact details, but you drafted. It went in snake order. You picked the hero, then the guy next to you, then next to you, then next to you, and then he got to pick twice, and then it snaked back to you, and you. Oh, that seemed really interesting too.
Yeah,
and
drafting
your equipment
cool.
and stuff like that. So.
Huh.
Yeah, it seemed really cool. You could tell that everyone who's demoing the game was really excited about working on it and stuff, which is always good to see. So,
yeah, hopefully, it doesn't take like 2 years after the Kickstarter.
I don't think it will because they have actual cards with art on them. I think it's more just like fixing stuff up and getting the money to like get it mass printed.
Produced, yeah.
Yeah. So they I think the guy who designed it's been working on it already for like 2 or 3 years. So,
Oh wow.
Yep. Looking forward to it. All
Cool.
right, guys. This has been episode 22 of Podcast 5 Rings, your source of enlightenment in the realm of the video games. Tabletop. Lots of tabletop today. Anime, film, and tech. Each episode of Podcast of 5 Rings releases Monday mornings on iTunes and SoundCloud. Now topic by topic, day by day on YouTube, with the full video releasing on Friday. Check us out on Twitter, Podcast5R, Facebook, P5R Podcast. Check out Meta Streams, twitch.tv/PSO Flow.
I would actually advise to anybody listening that you do check it out. I will be trying to stream some of the L5R decks that my fiance will have, and
Yep,
we'll be
we
also
talked about
playing. Yep, and then they'll also be playing some more board games on there as well from some of the stuff we've either gotten and the like. So we'll be trying to do some setup for that kind of stuff.
Yep, if you like board
Sounds
games
cool.
and stuff, check it out. So, we'll be back next week. Maybe we'll have an episode that we haven't had in a long time where we don't talk about L5R because we might not have any news to talk about.
Almost happened today.
But you're finally going to get that Death Note that you've been waiting on for like a month.
Oh God!
It comes out tomorrow.
Why?
I don't know why you're doing.
You're going to get to hear me rant about it.
We
already
it's
know.
horrible. We already know it's horrible.
I want to take a cattywampus and eat it.
Really?
And with that, we're out,
Really?
ladies and gentlemen.
Bye.
Bye.